Great white shark, ocean's perfect killing machine. The truth about Australia's sea monster. Intro. Visual. Aerial shot of the Southern Ocean crashing against rugged limestone cliffs. Close your eyes and think of the ocean's ultimate predator. Chances are, a very specific silhouette just swam through your mind. Pointed snout, obsidian eyes, and a row of serrated teeth that have fueled 1,000 nightmares. For decades, we've been told the great white shark is a mindless killing machine, a sea monster lurking in the shadows of our favourite beaches. But if you strip away the Hollywood soundtracks and the sensationalist news cycles, you find something far more interesting. You find an evolutionary masterpiece that's been refining its craft for millions of years. Today, we're heading into the deep blue to separate the social media myths from the scientific reality. We're looking at the great white not as a villain, but as a vital, sophisticated, and surprisingly cautious guardian of our oceans. Section 1. The sensory supercomputer. To understand the great white, you have to understand how it sees the world. And it's not just through those black eyes. While their vision is actually quite good even in low light, it's their sixth sense that makes them a marvel of ethology. See those tiny black pores peppered around their snout? Those are the ampullae of Lorenzini. These are electroreceptors that allow the shark to detect the tiny electrical fields generated by the muscle contractions of living things. We're talking about a billionth of a volt. To a great white, the beating heart of a fish or the twitch of a seal's flipper glows like a beacon in the dark, combined with their lateral line, a series of fluid-filled canals along their flanks that feel vibrations in the water. They don't just swim through the Ouse. They feel its every pulse. It's not mindless hunting, it's high-fidelity data processing. Section 2. The myth of the man-eater. Let's tackle the elephant in the room. Or rather, the shark in the surf. Why do they bite humans? If great whites were truly the man-eaters the movies claim, nobody would ever make it back to the shore in places like South Australia or the Neptune Islands. But the reality is, we aren't on the menu. Physiologically, great whites are after high-energy fats. They want blubber, seals, sea lions, whale carcasses. Humans, by comparison, are mostly bone and lean muscle. We're a low-calorie snack that simply isn't worth the effort. Most interactions are what scientists call investigatory bites. Without hands, a shark uses its mouth to identify an object. It's tragic when it happens to a surfer, but from an ethological perspective, it's a case of mistaken identity or simple curiosity. Usually, once they realize we aren't a fat-rich seal, they move on. They aren't hunting us. They're trying to figure out what we are in their backyard. Section 3. The warm-blooded engine. Here's a bit of biology that might surprise you. Great whites aren't strictly cold-blooded. They are endothermic poikilotherms. Using a complex web of veins and arteries called the rete mirabile, they can keep their internal body temperature, especially in their stomach, brain, and eyes, significantly warmer than the surrounding water. Why does this matter? It makes them an elite athlete. While other fish are sluggish in cold water, the great white's muscles stay warm and efficient. This gives them the explosive power needed to breach, launching their 2-ton bodies entirely out of the water to ambush a seal from below. It's a feat of physics that requires immense calculated energy, not random aggression. Section 4. A complex social life. We used to think these sharks were lonely drifters. We were wrong. Recent research into their social structures shows they have favourite hunting partners and exhibit a clear hierarchy to avoid unnecessary conflict. When two great whites meet over a carcass, they don't just tear each other apart. They use ritualized displays, tail slaps and swimming patterns to establish dominance without the risk of injury. They're capable of incredible migrations too, travelling from the Australian coast all the way to South Africa or a specific spot in the middle of the Pacific known as the Shark Cafe. They navigate these thousands of kilometres with pinpoint accuracy, likely using the Earth's magnetic field as a natural GPS. Conclusion: respect, not fear. The perfect killing machine tag is a bit of a double-edged sword. Yes, they are apex predators. They are the balance keepers of the sea. Without them, seal populations would explode, overgrazing fish stocks and collapsing the local ecology. But calling them monsters makes it too easy for us to ignore their decline. Great whites are vulnerable. They grow slowly, mature late, and are under constant threat from overfishing and habitat loss. The truth is, we don't need to love them, but we do need to respect them. When you see that silhouette, don't think of a movie monster. Think of a 400 million-year-old success story that's just trying to find its next meal in a rapidly changing world. The ocean isn't a scary place because sharks are in it. The ocean would be a much scarier place if they weren't. Thanks for watching. If you want to dive deeper into the science of our natural world, make sure to subscribe. Catch ya in the next one. Visual: a shark cruising through a kelp forest, sunlight dappling its back. We've established that the great white isn't the mindless brute of 1970s cinema. But to truly understand why this animal deserves our respect, we have to look at its timeline. We often call them living fossils, but that's a bit of a furphy. While their basic blueprint has been around for millions of years, the great white we see today, Carcharodon carcharias, is a highly refined modern predator that has survived because it is a master of adaptation. Section 5. The Achilles heel. Life in the slow lane. If you want to understand why great white populations are so fragile, you have to look at their family planning, or lack thereof. Unlike a salmon that lays thousands of eggs, or a rabbit that breeds like, well, a rabbit, the great white plays the ultimate long game. A female great white doesn't even reach sexual maturity until she's around 30 years old. Think about that. She has to survive 3 decades in an ocean filled with nets, hooks, and plastic before she can even think about contributing to the next generation. Even then, they give birth to live young, pups, in small litters after a gestation period that might last up to 18 months. This slow and steady approach worked perfectly for millions of years. But in the modern era, where humans can remove thousands of sharks from the water in a single season, the math just doesn't add up. They can't bounce back quickly. When we lose one mature female, we aren't just losing one shark, we're losing 30 years of survival expertise and decades of future offspring. Section 6. Beyond instinct. The thinking shark, one of the biggest myths floating around social media, is that sharks are purely stimulus response animals. You know the trope: they see blood, they bite. In reality, researchers in South Australia have documented great whites showing genuine curiosity and even problem-solving behaviours. They'll approach a new object, like a research buoy, with extreme caution. They'll swim around it, observe it from different angles, and sometimes gently bump it with their snout to test its texture and buoyancy. There's a level of cognition here that we're only just beginning to map. They have individual personalities. Some are bold, approaching cages or boats with confidence, while others are shy, staying on the periphery and disappearing the moment they sense something's off. This isn't the behaviour of a machine. It's the behaviour of an intelligent animal navigating a complex world. Section 7. The lens of social media. We've all seen those terrifying POV videos on TikTok or Instagram. A shark's mouth gaping right at a camera lens. While they make for great likes, they often distort the reality of the animal. Most of these shots are achieved by chumming or burleying, throwing fish guts into the water to trigger a feeding response. It's the equivalent of judging human behaviour based on how people act at a crowded buffet after a 3-day fast. It's not an accurate representation of their daily lives. In their natural state, great whites are surprisingly calm. They spend most of their time cruising at a leisurely pace, conserving energy. The monster we see on our screens is often a product of clever editing and wide-angle lenses that make a 4-meter shark look like a prehistoric leviathan. Section 8. The Australian frontier. Here in Australia, we have a unique relationship with the great white. From the rugged coast of Western Australia to the shark-rich waters of the Spencer Gulf, they are a part of our national identity. But our approach is shifting. Instead of the cull mentalities of the past, we're leading the world in non-lethal management. Satellite tagging programs allow us to track whitey in real time, giving us insights into their highways along the continental shelf. We're learning that they aren't patrolling beaches to hunt humans. They're following the seasonal migrations of salmon and snapper. Conclusion: the guardian of the blue. As we wrap up this look into the life of the great white, it's worth remembering that the ocean is the last great wilderness on Earth. It's a place where we are guests, not masters. The great white shark isn't a monster. It's a sentinel. It's an indicator of a healthy, vibrant marine ecosystem. To see one in the wild is a privilege, a reminder that there are still forces in this world that we don't, and shouldn't, control. Respect the fin, understand the science, and let's make sure these incredible architects of the deep are still cruising our coastlines for another few million years. Thanks for joining us on this journey. If you enjoyed this deep dive, give us a thumbs up and let us know in the comments which apex predator we should look at next. See you out there. Visual: close-up of a great white's mouth slightly agape, showing the serrated edges of the teeth. To finish our journey into the world of the great white, we have to talk about the most famous and misunderstood tool in their kit, the teeth. But it isn't just about the bite, it's about the sheer engineering behind it. Section 9. The conveyor belt of the deep. A great white doesn't just have a set of teeth, it has a production line. Unlike humans who get 2 chances at a smile, these sharks have rows upon rows of serrated triangular blades. At any given time, a shark might have around 3,000 teeth in its mouth. Arranged in five or more rows, they aren't anchored to the jawbone like ours. Instead, they're attached to a membrane that acts like a conveyor belt. If a tooth is lost or blunted while hunting a particularly tough sea lion, the next one in line simply rotates forward to take its place. Over a lifetime, a single shark might go through 20,000 to 30,000 teeth. But here's the bit that often gets missed. Those teeth are actually modified scales. They're called dermal denticles. If you were to run your hand from a shark's nose to its tail, it would feel smooth like silk, but go the other way, and it would feel like coarse sandpaper. These tiny, tooth-like scales reduce drag and allow the shark to swim almost silently, a stealth mode that even the most advanced submarines struggle to emulate. Section 10. Managing the risk. The Australian way, in Australia. The conversation around great whites is often dominated by fear after a rare interaction. But as we've moved into the 2020s, our approach has become much more shark smart. We're moving away from the old-school methods of culling and towards high-tech coexistence. Take the smart drumline programs in New South Wales and Western Australia. These aren't designed to kill the animal. When a shark is hooked, an alert is sent to a research team who arrive within minutes. They tag the shark with a satellite transmitter, relocate it a few kilometers offshore, and release it safely. This gives us 2 things. It keeps the beaches safer in the short term, and it gives scientists invaluable data on where these sharks are going. We now have apps that can alert beachgoers in real time when a tagged great white is detected near a popular surf break. It's about sharing the water, not claiming it. The data is clear. The risk of a shark interaction is incredibly low. You're statistically more likely to be injured by a falling coconut or a malfunctioning vending machine. But because we evolved on land, the idea of a predator in the water triggers a primal response. Overcoming that fear with facts is the first step toward true conservation. Section 11. The Apex Challenge. As we look to the future, the great white faces a challenge it can't evolve its way out of: the warming of our oceans. As water temperatures rise, we're seeing range shifts. Great whites are being spotted further south than ever before. following the cold water currents they prefer. This movement can bring them into contact with new human populations and different prey species, creating fresh challenges for ethologists. Understanding these shifts is vital. We're not just studying a shark, we're studying the health of the entire Pacific and Indian Oceans. When a great white population is stable, it means the entire food web beneath it is functioning. They are the quality control officers of the sea, removing the sick, the weak, and the old from fish and seal populations, ensuring only the strongest survive to breed. Without them, the ocean would be a far messier, less efficient place. Final outro. A legacy in the blue, the great white shark is a testament to the power of evolution. It's a creature of refined senses, complex social structures, and an undeniable raw beauty. They aren't the monsters of our myths, but they aren't cuddly pets either. They are something much more important. They are essential. Next time you stand on one of our beautiful Australian beaches and look out at that deep blue horizon, remember that somewhere out there, a great white is cruising. It's not looking for you. It's looking to play its part in a story that's been unfolding for eons. Respect the ocean, trust the science. And let's keep this perfect killing machine exactly where it belongs. Patrolling the wild frontiers of our planet, thanks for being part of this 3-part deep dive. If you've learned something new about the great white, share this video with someone who's still a bit shark shy. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure into the wild. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe. Catch you later. Visual. A great white seen from below, silhouetted against the shimmering surface of the water. We've covered the teeth, the senses, and the social lives of these apex predators. To finish, we need to look at the ghost in the machine, the mechanical and biological secrets that allow a 2-ton animal to vanish in plain sight, and the final myths that still cloud our understanding of their true nature. Section 12. The Art of Invisibility. You'd think a 6-meter shark would be easy to spot, but the great white is a master of a mechanism called countershading. It's a simple but brilliant bit of evolutionary camouflage. Their dark grey backs blend perfectly with the rocky, dark depths when viewed from above, but if you're a seal looking up, their white bellies blend into the bright, sunlit surface of the water. This dual-tone cloak allows them to get within a few meters of their prey before they're even detected. It's not about being the fastest, it's about being the most patient. Section 13. The bloodhound myth. We've all heard the claim. A great white can smell a single drop of blood from a kilometer away. It's one of the most persistent myths on social media. While their olfactory system is incredibly sensitive, occupying about 18% of their brain, they aren't magical. They can detect 1 part of blood in about 10 billion parts of water. That is impressive, roughly equivalent to a teaspoon of blood in a medium-sized backyard swimming pool. But here's the kicker. For the shark to smell it, the scent molecules have to actually reach its nostrils. If the current is moving away from the shark, it won't smell a thing, regardless of how close it is. They don't have a blood GPS. They follow scent plumes that drift through the water like smoke in the wind. Section 14. Mechanical bite versus biological precision. When we talk about the perfect killing machine, people often focus on bite force. A great white's bite is estimated at around 18,000 newtons, roughly 4,000 pounds of force. For comparison, a human's bite is about 700 newtons, but the shark's secret isn't just raw pressure, it's the lateral shake. When a great white bites, it doesn't just clamp down, it vigorously shakes its head from side to side. This turns those serrated teeth into a saw, allowing them to cut through thick blubber and bone with minimal energy expenditure. It's a mechanical solution to a biological problem: how to take down prey that might weigh half as much as you do without getting injured in the process. Section 15. The must keep swimming fallacy. There's a common belief that if a great white stops swimming, it dies instantly. This is a half-truth. They are obligate ram ventilators, meaning they have to keep water moving over their gills to breathe. However, they've developed ways to rest without suffocating. Scientists have observed great whites facing into a strong current with their mouths open, letting the moving water do the work for them while they remain relatively still. They aren't mindless drones that turn off if they stop. They are active managers of their own oxygen levels. Section 16. Final myth. The revenge narrative, perhaps the most damaging myth, is the idea that sharks can hold grudges or seek revenge on humans. This is a classic case of anthropomorphism, projecting human emotions onto animals. A shark's brain is designed for efficiency, survival, and reproduction. It doesn't have the complex emotional architecture for malice. Every interaction, even the tragic ones, is driven by biology, environment, and instinct. When we frame them as villains, we move away from science and into the realm of fiction. And fiction is a poor basis for conservation policy. Closing, the future of the great white. As we leave the waters of the Southern Ocean, the real takeaway isn't that the great white is a monster to be feared, but a masterpiece to be understood. In Australia, we're learning that the more we know about them, the less we fear them. Through education, tagging, and respectful observation, we're finding a way to share our coastline with an animal that has been here since before the dinosaurs. The great white shark is a reminder that we live on a wild, incredible planet. Protecting them isn't just about saving a predator. It's about preserving the balance of the ocean that sustains us all. Cheers for sticking with us through this deep dive. If you've got a question about shark behaviour or a myth you want us to bust next, drop it in the comments below. Stay safe, respect the water, and we'll see you in the next documentary. Good on ya. Visual. Sunlight piercing through the water's surface, illuminating a great white swimming peacefully. We've deconstructed the biology, debunked the Hollywood myths, and explored the complex social lives of these ancient guardians. But as we close this series, we have to look at the most important part of the equation, our own behaviour. If the great white is the master of its domain, how do we, the occasional visitors, navigate that world safely and ethically? Section 17. Being shark smart, practical safety. Living in Australia means living with the ocean. Whether you're a surfer in Margaret River or a diver off the coast of New South Wales, the risk, while statistically tiny, is a reality. But Shark Smart isn't just a catchy government slogan. It's a set of principles grounded in ethology. First, consider the light. Great whites are ambush predators that rely on their superior low-light vision. Swimming or surfing at dawn, dusk, or in murky water after heavy rain is essentially handing the shark its primary tactical advantage. In these conditions, their ability to distinguish between a seal and a human on the surface is significantly reduced. Secondly, look at the ecosystem around you. If you see huge schools of baitfish, diving birds, or seals behaving erratically, you're looking at a dinner table. It's not brave to stay in the water. It's simply ignoring the obvious signs of an active hunting ground. Finally, let's talk about technology. Remember those ampullae of Lorenzini we discussed in part 1? Modern science has turned the shark's greatest strength into a deterrent. Personal electronic deterrents, like the Shark Shield or Ocean Guardian, emit a specific frequency that overstimulates these sensors. It's like a person walking into a room with a piercingly loud alarm. It's not harmful, but it's incredibly uncomfortable, causing the shark to turn away. For those who spend a lot of time in deep water, it's a game changer based on real science, not just hope. Section 18. The ethics of observation. As our fascination with the great white grows, so does the industry built around seeing them. Australia is home to some of the world's best cage diving operations, particularly at the Neptune Islands. But it raises an ethical question. Are we conditioning these sharks to associate humans with food by using burley or chum? The research suggests a nuanced answer. Long-term satellite tracking shows that sharks visiting these sites don't stay there indefinitely. They continue their massive migrations, showing no signs of becoming beggars. However, the best operators today use minimal attractants and focus on education. Seeing a great white in its natural element, witnessing its calm, methodical grace, is the most powerful tool we have to replace fear with respect. When done right, ecotourism provides the economic incentive for governments to protect these animals instead of culling them. Section 19. The trophic cascade. Why they must stay. We need to be clear about what happens if we lose the great white. In ecology, there's a concept called a trophic cascade. When an apex predator is removed, the animals they usually hunt, like mid-level predators and seals, proliferate. This creates a top-down collapse. An overpopulation of seals can lead to the decimation of local fish stocks, which in turn destroys the biodiversity of the reef. The great white isn't just a killer, it's the lead architect of the ocean's health. Without them, the vibrant, productive oceans we love would become barren and unbalanced. We don't protect sharks because they're nice. We protect them because they're necessary. Conclusion: the last great wilderness. The great white shark is a mirror. For a long time, it reflected our own fears, our own aggression, and our own misunderstandings. But as we've seen over these 5 parts, when you look closer, that mirror reveals something much more profound. It reveals a creature that has survived 5 mass extinctions. It reveals a sensory system so refined it borders on the supernatural. And it reveals a predator that, despite its power, shows remarkable restraint and complexity. The ocean is the last great wilderness on our planet. It's a place where we are not the top of the food chain, and there is a humbling beauty in that. We don't need to conquer the sea, and we don't need to fear the monsters we've spent decades inventing. We just need to understand. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of the great white. It's been a privilege to share the science of Australia's most iconic sea master with you. If this series has changed the way you look at the blue, then we've done our job. Keep exploring, keep learning, and as always, stay shark smart. Catch you later.